Hello everyone, I'm a kind of testing geek. I do it since I discovered it yesterday, almost 20 years now. Probably when I started as a little kid, I was also into ripping things apart and interested in how things work. And that's still what I do, questioning. This is a talk, but I normally try to challenge you. So also in this, I will challenge you. And maybe you figured out that, hey, what's this kind of colored cards doing? You'll find out later. So, first question. What do you know about contract testing? Anything. Just yell what you know. Do you know it? Unknown. Tell it. Yell it. Contract between two microservices. One more. What do you know? Anything. Have I built a CI? Yes. More. Yes, consumer tests and producer tests. Cool. So, at least a little bit what you know. So you start thinking. Does not say that I need to talk to you all, but at least I got some ideas what you know. So my talk will be this. It's maybe strange, but first what I try to do is get you up to speed what the idea behind is, and then we're gonna do some discussion on what is contract testing and how we can use it. But before that, I will explain it a little bit more in detail. Before that, some guy yesterday asked me, what do you mean with chain testing? I said, hey, okay, I will add some chain testing stuff on it, because in my belief, you also challenge what you understand, do you understand each other. So when I talk about a chain, it's a customer flow. For example, we're currently working at a bank, so we onboard customers, they buy a product, for example, a mortgage, whatever, and they're going to pay money, that's where the banks are for, and they're going to be more and more. So from the perspective of the customer, onboarding, paying, this is a flow that's pretty usable for any. So if I talk about a chain, it means multiple systems. This is 100+ teams working on this. So if we talk about a chain, this is the chain testing where I'm talking about. Okay, so chain testing. The other thing is, if we look at our landscape, we discovered that we did not know exactly what our landscape was. So what we do is, okay, get a group together and create an overview. So this is probably the most ugliest overview you ever seen, but was very helpful for us. What you see here is all the lines are APIs. So all our services, components, all our components, and there's a difference between blue or purple is external, the yellow ones are internal at the bank, the green ones internal inside our department. So you can see there's a lot of dependency to other side of departments and also dependency to other companies. So when we figure out this, okay, when we do chain testing, you can imagine what happens if one line changes. So I don't know if this works, but let's say we change here something. We currently, what we do is, we got the business specialist that looked at it, hey, this is, okay, this is what we need to do. And we also need to test if this change, we need to test here something, and we need to test there something. So we do it by what we think is good. Well, and we do that in also on an acceptance test environment. This is nice, but we rely on the fact that somebody tells us what the dependencies are before going live, and sometimes we figure out in production that something goes wrong, or so to change something. So the chain testing, this is what I think about the reality of chain testing is. It's a very nice thing you can do. You can do loads of things on acceptance testing. But the problem is, well, what we occur, let's say you want 100 teams working on a software, try to figure out what configuration you're using now. What kind of test data can you use? What is the status of data space? There are so freaking much dependencies, you don't know the overview, what's going on. So, and most of all, for me, the main reason is it gives a false sense of security. Because We think we tested everything. We think the current situation is what it looks like in production. We do this on an acceptance test environment. But in essence, there are always things go wrong. So therefore, we figured out we need to get this mess a bit more clear. And therefore we got contract testing. And for who does not know it, there was always mentioned there, there's a producer side and there's a consumer side. There's a contract between this, and the contract is just a simple test. So in this example, I've got a producer who gives you an address, and there's a consumer. I got two components, a bike component and a car component, and they want to have the address and what they ask. Okay, give me our postal code. There's some numbers and some letters in Holland. We request that, and I get that back. And this contract from the car is the test itself is in the producer side. So the producer knows this car thingy relies on this contract, on these tests. So that's very important. And there's another one that gets maybe some other test called bike. I say, hey, I've also got the postal code, but I use it differently. Fine. So there's an additional for A, and there's a D. So there's a test belonging to the producer. So if the producer wants to change something, it's fine as long as these contracts are still valid. That's the idea. Probably something happens and says, okay, well, we're going to use now a drone, and this also wants to have the address, but drones don't follow the road, so there's a GPS coordination. But can you give me from this GPS coordination an address? So there could be the same address, but on a different interface. So as long as the producer changes his interface by now also available for GPS coordinates, it's fine for them because they don't touch it. This is the basic idea behind contract testing. And this is how it should be. So it's an agreement. This is very important. So the problem we had is we will change APIs. And we get late feedback. Because when we change the API, if you have multiple teams, you integrate something and later, a little bit later, we integrate again and a bigger component, and then we get feedback of 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or even worse, longer ago. So we don't want that. So we want now to say directly, this is what's going on and this is what we expect from each other. From a testing perspective, microservices this is normal basic knowledge. I think you should know this one. But from a tester perspective, microservices tend to do more this. So an end-to-end is important, but the integration test, we focus way more on integration tests. So in the integration test, our contract is, this is where we keep our focus on. Normally we'll say unit testing must be very thorough. We tend now to go more on integration tests. So this is the first idea about contract testing. So at least you know what contract testing is. What we're going to do is the following. We've got a statement upcoming. You've got, I will use this as a trigger to stop, because we're going to do a 1 minute. I will show you a statement. You think about it 1 minute. Then we're going to stop again. I will raise my hand. Then discuss your opinion with your neighbor. That's good because there are a lot of neighbors, so that's fine. Then it's 2 minutes. I will raise my hand again. And with the pair of you, you try to figure out, hey, neighbors, what's your opinion on this one? So this is what we're going to do. So it's a bit interactive, so computers, and so there's people who still have some spot available. And then as a group, we're going to vote. And for the voting, there's the I agree, it's green, I don't know, it's for yellow for me, or green. This is what we're going to do. But before that, see the statement. I've got a little video because I think critical thinking is essential to discuss. So here we go.
Hey, if you want to do critical thinking in a professional way, very quickly, I recommend 3 words, 3 questions. Huh?
I don't even know what it is.
Really?
I'll give you that.
And So what if someone says that bug tracking is a best practice? You can say, huh? What do you mean by bug tracking? I don't know what you mean by that. Huh reminds us that we may not understand what we are criticizing. Really? That is a question that reminds you that perhaps the facts are in dispute. So I can say, how do you know that bug tracking is a best practice? And finally, so that reminds us that maybe it doesn't matter. So what if bug tracking is a good practice? How am I going to suffer if I don't do it? Maybe it's the best practice a little bit, sometimes, but it doesn't really matter. Huh? Really? So, 3 questions that will make you a critical thinker right away.
Would you say that's the best practice for critical thinking?
No!
Okay, probably you recognize the guy. Who recognized the guy? The other ones, look him up. He's James Buck. He's a critical thinker and is good challenging. So now you know the 3 words. I will show you a statement and then, huh? What do you do? Okay. Really? So this is, you got 1 minute and I will raise my hand and then we're going to stop and then you're going to talk to your neighbor. And then I'm going to give you 2 minutes and then raise my hand and I'm going to talk to the others. Okay, off we go. Here's the statement. Huh? Okay, you start thinking. Very good. If you say it, that's good. You probably got an idea. Really? You sure? Is that your opinion? So? Okay. Let's give it a try. Talk to your neighbor, find your neighbor, and what do you think? 1 minute, or 2 minutes, sorry. Easy. Okay, 30 seconds left. Didn't say anything, works. Nice. Okay, stop, timer. What you do now is, because you got, let's say, your idea, you to talk to your neighbor, so the idea is now you pair up with another group and you sit together, hey, this is, I don't know, there's also neighbors at the back or at the front, so yeah, front for you, not, but the rest, there is people in front. And get, again, 2 minutes and discuss what your opinion is. And for the guys who, as a group, I want to vote. So as a group. Okay, you get 2 minutes again. Try to find another pair and to discuss it. And here, if people want to vote. Oh. If people want to vote. Johnny. Then you can vote. If more wants. I see already some colors. Really? "30 seconds left." Okay, laughing is good, by the way. It's good for your brains. Okay, it's time to vote. So the idea is, as a group, you vote. So green, yellow, red. Okay, show your votes. And I asked the guys in front also, look around. So this is what the others. Hey, there's a girl, so they're green, they're yellow, they're red. So we don't agree on everything. So I just want to ask one. So you were very early with telling it's red. Why? Is there a microphone for? Maybe it's handier. Yeah. If you can use this one. Yeah.
For starters, the statement has actually 4 cases. You're stating only useful for
Yeah.
and only numeric. And I mean, I wouldn't agree for this statement if I was buying bread, not if you get me, not
Yeah.
for like contract testing.
Okay. So you're on the only useful. You said like if you like an array of options would also be nice.
Exactly. I mean, you can, well, in essence, any kind of anything that would be applicable to static analysis could be applied, right? So
Yep.
I mean, it's far off.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Somebody get. Oh, I will get the mic. Okay. We'll use it again. Okay. So we got now the idea, and we're gonna do a trick again. We start again by thinking for yourself. It says, huh? So maybe it's nice to do it in everybody at the same time. I show the thing, and then you all say, huh? Okay. Let's try that one. 3, 2, 1. Huh? Oh, we're getting there. So again, 1 minute. Really? People are already starting discussing with the neighbors. Then probably it's time to move on. Okay. The idea again is start with a neighbor, probably discussing, hey, what do you think? Agree or don't agree? And why? So off we go. 2 minutes. might or should be required. Well, these words are on purpose, of course. But if you got two options, figure out what you do in two options. $30 seconds. Okay. Probably you have now an opinion on what you think this is true. Let's check on with the other pair, and then we're going to vote again. So again, 2 minutes to check with the other pair. And I advise you to pick another pair that you previously had. So you can know more people, that's nice. And you get different opinion. Or if you're satisfied with the pair, go for it. Okay, last 30 seconds. Okay, let's see if we can show some cards. Interesting. Well, look around, because other people have different opinion. That's nice. So these are more green than last one. He's still on red, so he don't agree. So talk to the guy. Why is red? Why is green? Can somebody for the mic walk to someone? I don't care. Yeah, anyone. Maybe at the back. Pick a green one, because... Can you vote again so that they can see? I don't see anything, but vote so that we can know who's green. So. Okay, why do you think this is... You should do it.
We just talked if we have some dependencies, that kind of should be tested, because if it's dependent, we must test that.
Okay. And if there's dependent and is allowed to be empty, is it also should be tested?
Yes, because it's dependent.
Okay. And it's allowed to be null. Is it also be dependent to test?
It's kind of a requirement, then, so yeah. It's dependent, of course.
Oh, okay. Nice. Other opinions? Because here's one that says no. Are there more reds? Yes, here, in front. Please, why?
I have a red and And a green actually, so voting with 2.
Okay.
Voting for the first thing, yes, in general. But the second, it should be something that shows what needs to be tested. Basically, with the might word there, it says almost nothing as a requirement. It might be required or might be not. So what do we test actually?
Yeah.
So in general, the first thing, yes. Second, it's not a, how should I say, a reasonable business requirement to test.
Yeah. It's a practice what we, in current design, we use this as a rule. So if there's dependency, you should test it. But this is this is what we think is good. So, and I'm a fan of thinking, so you should think for yourself what is good. But this is what we use. Okay, last statement. And we're going again, really? So, okay, let's try it again. Go for a 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you're getting there. Okay, I give you 2 minutes. Directly start with a pair. Thirty seconds. Okay, keep talking. Okay, so last check with another pair to see what to vote. So what if you find another pair, new pair, if you or the same one? Yes, try to do it in 1 minute. Okay. More or less agree with your neighbors? Okay, it's time for voting. I'm at the lights. Hey, this is red, green, yellow. Okay. So we don't agree. That's good. Okay. Try randomly. So not the same person, not the same site, maybe other site. Please hold it on, otherwise we can't see it. Or you already picked the person. Oh. Why do you think what your option is?
Mine is yellow. Mine
Yellow.
is yellow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it depends on the change.
Okay, give me an example.
So either you didn't mention whether the contract is alone changed or the consumer and producer change is also not mentioned. One thing is that, and when you say change, what kind of change also there, not there. So it depends. It may be just the length is changed, and maybe it is.
So if the in my example of the GPS coordinates, let's say 2 times 10 numbers, and it's now 2 times 20 numbers, is that should it break?
It will break.
It will break.
It should break.
It should break.
Yes.
Okay. Another interesting thing is if you add, in my example, if you add, let's say, another field, should it break? Any idea? So I do an additional field to it. Should it break? No, I hear it, no. One of the reasons that you don't want to break it should be expandable. So if you still service your first consumer, like in my example, the car consumer, then you can still run it without any problems. So if it's expandable, that's very good to do. So you have decoupling of the of quality of the functionality. That's something that for this. Normally we say you should only break when the contract is you screw him up. Let's say your consumer. If it's you're adding more or do additional fields, should not break. So therefore, yes, a question or. Yes, and what did I tell you about it? There's the question is, you don't know who's your consumer. In my spaghetti landscape, you saw that we did not know it. But in the essence is now, if you subscribe to your producer, that's what you want, you put your test in the repository of your producer. So the producer knows exactly who's consuming me and also how. Okay. One more question and then I'll go.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, even if the contracts are externalized, so you add a dependency in Maven or
Yeah.
NuGet packages, wherever. So it's active development. They might change the contract just for internal testing, and this version is not even deployed to test environment. You will be broken. However, it's not necessarily mean that this change they are going to deploy to CI or test environment. As a result, this is not a way to test it.
Yeah, I'm more fan on. I don't like, let's say, a lot of different versions. So let's say CI is invented because it's just one branch, the master branch. So not 20 branches. We live long-lived branches. I hate those things. You get all kind of shitty like this. So the fact that is try to be as possible strict as to one version. And also one version to the different. Otherwise, you get multiple contracts to this version, another contract to that version. Don't go there. Okay, what we see now, we've got a better idea of contract testing, and there's also interesting things like consumer-driven contracts. Consumer-driven contracts is where you, as a consumer, say this is how it should work. Producer creates something that provides me this information. So the only thing that the producer needs to do is satisfy your contract. Of course, there's also some performance requirement or security. There are more requirements, but in our contract, this is what you need to do for me. So in my example, I will give you a postal code and I want the address back. Okay, this is the only thing I need to do. The good thing is if you drive the implementation, you don't make producers that, oh, this is also nice. Probably the consumer will like this. Well, you don't like this. What we want is, I want an API to just, if I request this is what I want to get back. So I like the fact that you're building what is needed instead of, hey, I can give more option as an address provider. Oh, maybe you need this, maybe you need that. More stuff, don't do it. That's why I like consumer-driven contracts. So the contract is driven to build the producer. So very nice. If you want to try it out at your own place, I got some steps you can do. So in our current bank, we did two main things. First of all, the bank said, hey, we're going to stop with our acceptance environment. Okay, but how do we test? Well, this is the problem we got. And I like the fact that we get a problem and then we can find a solution for that. And the developers, there were some really enthusiastic about this approach and just tried it out. And you can try it out as a tester, but I think it's more valuable if you do it with developer. So together with your developer, try this. Make something work, first one, and then try to convince if there's in the spaghetti, if you got one interface that works, and you got some, try to make it all way to a dashboard, etc., so that you know where you're running and how it's on. Then try to figure out, hey, maybe I could do knowledge sessions like lean coffee. These statements were literally in our lean coffee. What do you think, this statement? What should we do? We review the real test. We review this from another team. Hey, these are the tests because we want to learn how you do your contract testing and how do we. And then we discovered, hey, numeric, should it be or shouldn't it be? And this option, should it be allowed to be nil or empty or what do we want? So we get concrete examples. This is what we discussed. So I encourage you, if you want to try this, try to use concrete examples. Hey, how do we do this? Review this, just like you're doing your own testing. You can do. This is also what you can do. So cross teams, if you got more teams, that's very handy to do. And I like the fact that put it on dashboard so you can monitor them. Okay, I got 2 or 3 more minutes. I've written down a couple of takeaways you can do. One I want to highlight here is because we do that, let's say, a lot of contract testing, we also do a lot of stubbing. Because you need to stub the other side of the producer or your consumer. And that's been very helpful, not only in your own testing, but also the other part is talking to you is, hey, reuse these stubs. So this is very nice. Also for learning, hey, I want to learn how this interface works. I can talk to the stub. I can use, let's say, Postman again as a stub or something. That's very helpful. So it's not only the stub for your testing, but also way more stuff. Okay, this was, I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. This was my talk about microsystems and how we do it now. Thank you very much.